नहीं आता है। इसको क्या हुआ?
ये कैमरा में म्यूजिक का थोड़ी कैमरा में हो गया। हाँ क्या
Just give me 1 minute, guys. I'm gonna share the link. Alright, guys, can you see me and hear me? Please join fast. I believe the issue was with the graphic card. I think probably for some reasons the stream was not getting resumed. I don't know. As I said, I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't know how to troubleshoot that. So sorry about that. It may be also possible that it's because of the graphic card. I don't have a graphic card on my machine. Probably streaming requires a graphic card. I'm gonna start the screen share again, guys. Let me know if you can see my screen. Let me know also if my camera and my audio are audible and visible. Yes, it's visible to me. Do I see it? Guys, please respond if I'm audible and visible. All right, I'm gonna begin. So machine has rebooted. My server has powered on now. It should start. I'm gonna boot it from my drive instead of the CD-ROM. Those steps, please go and watch the previous stream. I've ended that. It is publicly available as well on YouTube, so you can watch that as well. I'm going to share the link separately over email and in the Telegram group as well. So in case if anyone missed to watch it, please watch it from there. Next part would be to configure Active Directory. Basically, we are going to install Active Directory domain services. Actually, even before that, we need to configure a static IP on this server, configure its DNS, and change the machine name so that it matches the machine name that you have specified in VMware. So basically, the machine name that you specify in the VMware, it's not the exact host name or the server name. Uh, when you logged in. So we need to rename the server name to what we have. I mean, it's not a mandate, but it is something that is recommended. All right, my machine is booting now. I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna stop the screen share. Once it's up and running, I will start sharing again. Just hold on for 1 minute, okay? I think the session should probably end in next 30 to 40 minutes. Not much left. Uh, the core functionality I've already talked about, that is how do you configure a machine in VM, what steps you need to take care of, like processor, hard drive, uh, the RAM that you provide, then general issues that you may discover while the machine is installing. Why do you need to keep floppy drive off so that the licensing agreements can be avoided? I mean, the error with the licensing agreement can be avoided and or ignored. Then once you restart, the machine installs it using the information that's there in the CD drive, the virtual CD drive, the ISO that you had that you downloaded that was used for the installation. And then once the server is configured, you need to log in as a local account that you configured while you were configuring the virtual machine. Post that, once you're logged into the server, we need to configure a static IP address, configure its DNS server and its gateway address, and then we need to restart the server, log in again, and then start the configuration of our Active Directory. There's one more step before the configuration of Active Directory, which is to rename the server um, as per your choice. Basically, once a VM installs, it gives a very generic and weird type of name with long characters and combination of characters and numbers. So we just need to change the machine name. Machine is still booting. Probably, I think I had to forcefully power it off initially before I had to reboot my local host. That's my laptop, and that's why it is taking some time. But yeah, after the first boot, it should be good to go. Give me just another 1 or 2 minutes. I really apologize about the delay. Alright, guys, I'm going to start the screen share. Let me know if I'm audible over camera and my screen is visible as well. It's loading on the login screen for the server. Should be here in next 30 seconds. Yeah, it's up. All right, it's up and running now. I'm going to log in, and after the login, the first step that we are going to do is to rename the computer name and change the computer name basically, and set up the static IP. Just look at these steps very carefully how you can set up the static IP of your server, which is going to be promoted as a domain controller. It's loading with the logon right now. Should be here any seconds. Yep, it's up. I'll wait for one more minute before it starts showing me the server manager. So, guys, once you log into any Windows server, uh, be a domain controller or a member server or an exchange server, any server in environment will show you the server screen through which you can manage your server, the services, um, any kind of management console that you need. As I said initially, a domain controller is a central server using which you can centrally manage all your identity and access management across the organization, um, irrespective of geography, the type, or the location of the user. It's like the heartbeat of any infrastructure. So, as you see, Server Manager is loading on my screen right now as we speak. I hope you all have Server Manager on your screen open, right? Just waiting for people to respond. I'm going to remove some of my machines over here so that the performance improves. All right, my server manager is up now. Step one, right click on your start menu option that you see on your Windows screen or on the server. Select run, open, run this command sysdm.cpl. I repeat, sysdm.cpl. Once you execute this command, it will open the. It's in the chat. The command name, it's in the YouTube chat. The command is sysdm.cpl. Once you run that command, it will show you the computer properties, wherein you will see the computer description, the network ID, and all that stuff, as you can see on my screen. Then you need to select change against workgroup. Right now, this is a workgroup computer. It's not joined to a domain. I will talk about Active Directory later, but let's first do these steps. So right now you see this computer is in a workgroup right now. There is a computer name with weird characters and numbers. Go and click on change. Now name this computer with something recognizable. So I'm gonna name it as domain, let's say DC1. So DC is the short form for domain controller. So I'll name that as DC1. Right now there is no domain, so I will do that as a work group. Once you click on OK, it's gonna change the computer name. It is recommended that you do not make any more changes, including IP address changes, once you change the computer name, and then reboot. It will automatically ask you to reboot. So let's reboot first, and then after the next login, we will configure the static IP address of the server. Let me know once you have done these steps and your system has rebooted. Anyone on the live stream right now who's not a follow, please watch the stream one. It's available on YouTube as well, the previous stream, and watch the entire video first and then come back over here and watch the stream. If you're lagging behind, I would suggest you not to confuse yourself by looking into this session. Rather, watch the first live stream, and then after you're done with all your steps, come over here and watch the second stream. If you can catch up while we are still live, great. If you're not, I would recommend you to first watch the stream one. So once your system reboots after the computer name change, let me know. Please message in the live chat or the Telegram group. Mine is still rebooting. I'm going to start the screen share again. Let me know if you can see my screen. Guys, please let me know if my video and my screen share is visible. Servers up. Meanwhile, while your server manager is opening, we can progress to the next step. That was to set a static IP address on the server. Now, if you recall the session 1 and session 2, I talked about the DNS and DNS subnets, I mean IP and IP subnets basically. Assume you have a subnet of 192.168.0.1. This is a type C or a class C IP address, which means it has three network portions and one host portion. IP address 192.168.0.1. 0 is the subnet over here, which means you can use an IP from 0 to, 0.1 to 255. So you can choose either between 192.168.0.1 till 155, the last octet. Now, that depends what is your current gateway address. So for that, what we need to do is we need to go right click on the start button, select the run command again, and type the command ncpa.cpl. This will open the network connections on the server. Don't run this command on your local machine and change anything. Instead, make sure you're running this command on the virtual machine and not your local machine or your laptop. Right. The command, I'm gonna paste that in the chat should anyone has issues understanding that. ncpa.cpl. Then you should be able to see network connections over here. In the Ethernet, right click and go to properties. In the properties, go to IPv4 address and select properties again. Internet Protocol version 5, that is IPv4, then go to properties. This will be generally a gateway, as I said, assigns IPs dynamically, which means this machine receives the IP addresses automatically from the router, or if there is a DHCP servers connected, the gateway here behaves as a DHCP server. I'm going to talk about DHCP in a recorded session. Let's write on your start command again and then select run. We need to see what is the current IP address which is assigned, even though it is dynamically assigned, and what is its gateway address. For this, we need to open command prompt. So for that, type cmd then in command prompt type ipconfig. Now you see there is an IPv4 address. This is a dynamic IP 192.168.80.154, and you see the default gateway, it is 192.168.80.2, which means the subnet is 80 and the IP assigned is 80.154. This is a dynamic IP. Let's request a static IP, or let's assign a static IP on this server. So the current IP, you can copy it from command prompts by selecting the IP address and press Ctrl C on your keyboard. That copies the IP address, and then select use the following IP address. Select the first octet of the IP address and then paste it. It will paste your IP address over here. Now press tab button. It will automatically show you the subnet mask. This is the default subnet mask for your class C IP address. Now in the default gateway, if you see in the command prompt that your default gateway in this case right now, it is 192.168.80.2. Use the same default gateway over here. Then under use the following DNS server addresses. Now in an Active Directory environment, DNS is managed by the domain controller itself, which is recommended to have that. You can have separate DNS servers as well, but because this is the first ever server which is there in the environment, this is going to be the DNS server as well at the same time. This is called Active Directory Integrated Environment or Zone. I'm going to create a separate video for activity zones, DNS zones, forward lookup, reverse lookup, and all that in a separate video. But for now, for the reference of this session, the same server, so 192.168.80.154, that will be the preferred DNS server. Now click on OK. Leave all the other settings as it is. I'm going to be on pause over here. Don't put the IP address that I have put. Use the IP address that you see in your command prompt once you run the IP config. You'll see an IPv4 address. You'll see a gateway address. Put these values in this IPv4 section within network connections. Once it is done, click on OK. As soon as you click on close, you'll probably see the server trying to identify the network over here. As you can see, it shows an exclamation mark. We haven't changed any configuration. It's just that we have changed from dynamic to a static IP. That was the intent of, or you can say, intent as well as the prerequisite for promoting this server from a normal server to a domain controller by means of installing Active Directory. Once this is done, go back to your command prompt, run the ipconfig command again. If you see, my default gateway has changed. I don't know why, but it should probably be the same. Let me just minimize that. I'll go to properties again. I'll go to IPv4. Yeah, I think default gateway, I did not put that correctly. So default gateway should be 80.2 over here, which was there earlier when I ran the ipconfig command for the first time. I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to click on OK again to verify if the gateway address has been applied correctly. Right. Now there are the same IP address is assigned again on the server. However, it is a static IP. And the default gateway, you can see that very clearly. It's showing 192.168.80.2. Next step is to restart the server again so that all the changes that we've made, although they apply automatically, but as in a lab environment, just restart it once so that all the changes are applied. It will take around 2 to 3 minutes for the changes to be completed. So I'm going to stop sharing screen. Let me know, guys, once after this change your server has booted and you are on the, you're logged into the server again and you see the server manager. I'm going to take a break for 2 to 3 minutes at max and I'll be right back. Meanwhile, guys, you can continue for those who are lagging behind, or let me know once your servers are rebooted. I'll be right back in 2 to 3 minutes.
वो पीछे लग गया था वहाँ पे मैं वो स्क्रीन बता रहा था लाइन में तो मैं अंदर से उसको फिक्स करूँ उन्होंने यहाँ पे एक दिया था उसके बाद में
क्योंकि चार्ट लिखा है मैंने कमांड
ये सीएमडी मैंने लिखी है उसके बाद में ये वो सारा उससे पहले वाला मैं कर चुकी हूँ सीएमडी को कंपनी के बाद में बॉक्स हाँ ये मैं पहले ही मैंने से देख रही हूँ उसको सुनने के
कॉपी करो
बस
कहीं और गेटवे एड्रेस को कॉपी करो
उसको कर दूँ ये
डिफॉल्ट डीएनएस सर्वर में उसी सर्वर का आईपी है पूरा सर्वर है मेरा सर्वर पूरा आईपी ऐसे कॉपी नहीं होगा ऐसे नहीं कॉपी होता इसमें कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट कॉपी करो नहीं तो कमांड टाइप करो
बस ये deleted circuit performance ये करना है इसके लिए करना है
All right, guys, I am back. Sorry for the delay. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Let me know if you can see that. Now, as you can see, my server has booted. I'm on the login screen. I'll put in my password now. There's some issue with the live stream over here. I'm going to start sharing again. Let me know if you can see my screen. Please message in the group. All right, guys. Now that we have static IP on the server and the DNS server is on the server as well, we are going to start the Active Directory domain services, in short, ADDS installation, and promote this server to a domain controller so that it has a specific network and infrastructure boundary, and that finishes the lab or creates the environment for us. So step one would be in server manager. Once it loads, we'll go to add roles and features and select Active Directory in the next step. I'll do one, so just bear with me. I think it's a bad day for my computer. For some reason, it's still very slow. I'm trying to. It's like I'm waiting for it to respond before I could do that. It's not that. It's just one of those odd days. It's taking so much time. I don't know why, but I'm really sorry about that. Just before you start the Active Directory installation, open command prompt and verify you have the right IP address and the gateway that you have put before the reboot. Then next step would be to open server manager. I don't know why it's still loading. I hope my screen is visible, guys. Please confirm on the YouTube chat. My RAM is fine, my processor is fine. I don't know what's going on. Spare with me for 1 minute. After server manager is open, everything is up and fine. Click on manage in the server manager section and then select add roles and features. Sorry guys, something's going on. I don't know what's happening. I really apologize. Let me plug in my charger, just 1 minute. Let's see if this helps. Alright, in the add roles and features option, select next on the first screen. This is a role based or feature based installation, so just keep that option as it is. Then select next. Now you will see the computer name, the basically the server name, the IP that you assign to it, and the operating system that you installed. So we installed a 2019 data center edition. So it will show you that information. Then select next. In the next section, select Active Directory Domain Services. It will give you a pop-up that says there are some additional tools or management tools that are required. So make sure that this option is checked, include management tools, and then click on add features. Then select next. Do not select anything over here. By default, the required management tools have been selected, which are required for Active Directory domain services. Now, this is a newer version of Windows Server, that is 2019. You also have the Cloud Active Directory option available over here. Uh, just gives you the information that you can join this server as a hybrid and all that. We will talk about that later on once we start talking about Active Directory, Azure Active Directory services or the M365 services. Let's move on to the next step. Select next. Now, if you choose that if your server should reboot automatically after 80 days installation, select this option. If you don't, you will have to manually restart the computer. I'll select the option as restart, which means the server will automatically reboot once ADDS is installed, but that is Active Directory Domain Services. These are all the sub services, or you can say the management tools, which will also be installed once you install Active Directory Domain Services. Next step is to click on install and then wait for the installation to complete. I'm going to pause the screen sharing again. And if there is any question or challenge in that, in the last 5 or 6 steps that we've talked about in the last 2 or 3 minutes, please ask on the chat or on the group. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes for the ADDS installation to complete. If you see the progress, it will show that the feature installation has started, the installation progress on the server name. For me, it is DC1. For you, it will probably be what you had named uh, when you renamed your server, the server name. It will show you that information. Let's wait for a few steps let's wait for a few minutes for the steps to complete. I'm just gonna enable the screen sharing again so you can see what's happening on my screen. I hope you can see my screen as well and my audio and video is visible. As you can see, it's almost 40-50% complete. The progress is on the way in the blue bar that you see on my screen. It should probably complete in next 2 minutes, I guess. If you remember, I selected the option of automatic reboot of the after the Active Directory. I mean, once the Active Directory domain servers are installed, so it should automatically reboot once the installation is complete. is still in progress, depending upon, as I said, whatever the hardware you have on your location. Oh, it's just completed. It should reboot. I should get a prompt that my system is about to be rebooted. It says there are some additional steps required to make this machine a domain controller. So now that Active Directory domain services have installed on this server, I need to promote this server from a normal server to a domain controller. I'll select this option over here, promote the server to a domain controller, or either I can choose to exit this wizard, like close it. And then you see this exclamation flag mark. It tells me that there are some pending tasks for ADDS to be completed. I'll click promote this server to a domain controller. Now, because this is the first server this in this infrastructure, I am going to add a new forest option. Make sure you select add a new forest option. I am going to create a separate video on what is the difference between forest and the why didn't we choose the other three options, other two options on the top. I'm just going to name it as um, my domain name, ankit-shukla.com. You can choose your own domain name. Doesn't matter if you have a domain name or not. In a non-premise environment, you can choose any hypothetical name. Then this is the domain name I've chosen, ankit-shukla.com. You can choose your own. Click on next. Then it tells me what is my forest function level, what is my domain function level. By default on 2019 you'll have the 2016 forest function level. You can choose to downgrade the levels, but let's not do that right now. I'm going to talk about forest function level, domain function level in a separate video that I'm going to post this week, so do go and watch that out. For now, select Windows Server 2016 for forest function level as well as domain function level. Now this server, as I said, is going to be behaving as a DNS server as well, because there's the first domain control in the environment. We don't have a separate DNS. So this option needs to be checked. Now, last part of this page that you see, it says the directory services restore word password. This is not the same as your admin account password or the account you're using to log into the computer, to the server. This is a password which will be used to encrypt your Active Directory database. Why do we need to encrypt that? Let's say in a case of a disaster, your server goes down, you're not able to get it up and running. Maybe let's say there is a ransomware attack or some sort of issues. You might be having a backup copy of the Active Directory database, so you can probably reinstall that or reconfigure that on a new server by attaching it as a hard drive, so that your organization can be back up and running. For that, should you choose to install using that hard drive or the database, reinstalling your Active Directory, this password would be required. It can be same as a local or your domain administrator account, but it is recommended to have a separate password on this. For reference, I'm going to use the same password on the screen that I have for my local admin account, the account using which I was logging into the server. Next, I'm going to select next option. You don't need to do anything over here because there is no DNS server that can be reached at this moment. We're going to add it as a DNS server, but after it gets promoted to a domain controller. So this option will be by default unchecked or disabled. Let's select next. Now it tells you to add a NetBIOS name. NetBIOS name is not the same as your domain name, the one that I chose, ankit-shukla.com. You have to use the prefix of .com or the domain extension. You can choose to have a different NetBIOS name. However, you can use the one that I have chosen. I mean, or your domain name, just the domain name. So my domain name was ankit-shukla.com. I said anything before the domain suffix, which is .com, uh, the domain extension. I'm sorry, the domain name would be used over here. So in that case, if you remove the .com, it just leaves me with Ankit-Shukla. That is the same with your whatever you have chosen, you can use that over here. Then select next option. Now it tells me which database my TDS. NTDS is nothing but the Active Directory database, where will be the database folder, will be the logs files, and what will be the sys file. I'm going to talk about all these things in future chapter, but for now, let's keep them as is and then select next. Now it tells me my selections that I made, the domain name, the forest function levels. Do I need to promote that server as a global catalog? Yes, no, DNS server, and all those settings. You can copy these to a notepad to see what all things you have made. In case you want to change anything, go to the previous step and change them, and come back over and click on next. Now it is now promoting my server to a domain controller, creating a forest, creating a domain name for my organization, thus the centralized boundary of my environment or the perimeter using which my company configuration would be done. The previous check, if you can see, it is completed. Now I'm going to click on install. So this was the session wherein we got to know about what is a VMware solution, as in what is a virtualization solution, how do we configure a virtual machine before it is installed, what versions of servers to use, um, hard drive recommendations, the processor recommendation, the RAM recommendation. Once that is chosen, we start the server installation. After the server is installed, why would we change the computer name? If it is really required or not? I said it's recommended, but it's not mandate. Then how do we assign a static IP and change the DNS? I'm sorry, the setup of DNS server and the gate address, because it's the first server, so we need to set that up as a DNS server as well. I mean, basically, we define what's the DNS server and what's the static IP for the server. Once that is done, we rebooted the computer so that all the settings changes are configured properly. Then we called Active Directory. Once that was done, we added or promoted this server from a normal server like a member server or a workgroup machine to a domain controller. Once domain control is completed, you just need to it will automatically reboot after it is promoted to a domain controller. And then once you log in for the next time, you will see your login information. So in my case, it was administrator. That will change to NetBIOS name that you configured in Active Directory backslash username, that was administrator, and the same password that you had. Whenever you log into a domain join machine, your company network, you will see there is a domain name backslash username and then the password. Instead of just the username and the password, you see that option on the first screen. However, in the subsequent steps, whenever you log into the computer, you will start seeing your username and password, and then it will automatically show at the bottom of your Windows login screen that uh, are you logging onto this computer or you're logging into this computer as on a network or on a domain. So that domain name or the NetBIOS name reflects over there. Let's wait for the machine to reboot. We are almost done the session. I think in next 5 minutes the session should be completed. Let's wait for that. I hope you're following my steps and you are there where I am right now, or you're following or you're in sync with whatever the steps or the configurations that's being done on this session. Please confirm on the chat or on the group if you're able to follow my steps over here. Kaushik, mine completed. Great, buddy. Stop this sharing for a few minutes. Just gonna answer any questions if there are any, or any roadblocks. Thanks for confirming, Kaushik. My server is just rebooted. This time it should boot and show me the login screen for my domain login. Instead of a local logon to the computer, it will show me my domain login. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Let me know if you can see it. As you can see on my screen, it's applying the computer settings. Now that it is a domain controller, it is not a normal server. It is I mean, not like a regular server. It is a domain controller now. Just waiting for it to show me my Windows login screen. I apologize for the long delay on this. I'm just waiting for it to show me the Windows login screen. Sorry guys, it's loading still on the applying computer settings option. Others, what's your progress? I mean, have you got up until this screen or any issues with that? Please tell me in the chat section. All right, my server is up and running now. I'm just gonna share it again. I hope you can see my screen now. All right. So as you can see on the login screen now, it shows my NetBIOS name and then backslash my username. So now this machine is no more a normal or regular server. It's now joined to a domain. It's also a domain controller. It has its own set of network boundaries and parameters. And when a machine is joined to a domain, you will always log in with username. I'm sorry, the NetBIOS name backslash username and then your password. The This is how, I mean, now that the server is promoted, you should be able to log in. You should be able to see the server manager. And then now that the server is domain controller, you will see all the management tools that I talked about. Uh, for now, it's just Active Directory, but with respect to Active Directory domain services, you will see a lot of Active Directory management tools option as well. So now you go to in under server manager, go to the options over here. You'll see a lot of new management tools like Active Directory Administrative Center, the domains and trust, modules for Windows PowerShell, Active Directory sites and services. This is going to be the most common tool that you'll be using, which is Active Directory users and computers. This is the central management console using which you'll be able to manage your users in your company, your workstations, your groups, and other features as well, like resetting the password, their membership to what they have access to. This is how the Active Directory users and computers console looks like. Well, this is the end of the session for today, guys. I hope you liked the session and learned something. I apologize for the delay because of connectivity and slowness because of my computers. I'm really sorry about that. I'm not a frequent YouTuber or a content creator. The intent behind is to provide you as much information or teach you in best way possible. Yeah, that's all. But I really apologize for the delay on this. And thank you so much to you all for joining this session. Um, I'll see you next week. And please watch the videos that will be posted this week for the next set of sessions that we have talked about. Um, Probably the next live session would be on Saturday. I saw a lot of people who missed because of some personal reasons. I understand the concerns, but please ensure that you continue to watch the sessions and the live sessions frequently. Thank you, guys. You all have a great day and a weekend ahead. Take care of yourself and bye bye for now. Cheers.